I think it's taken about, in the end it would have taken about 5 to 6 months, which is sort of usual time for us. We recorded it in, well, most of it in New York and some of it in Santa Barbara.
I think that the interaction, for me personally, with Martin has changed quite a bit. I feel more confident about my ideas, and I also feel really good about. I feel like those ideas are really heard, and you know, quite often I witness them come into life, and that always feels good. I mean, it's really difficult sometimes when you know, for me in the past, you know, singing somebody else's songs and trying to interpret them. You know, it's something that's it's a little tricky, you know, because on one hand I'm going to do my own thing, but on the other hand I have the, you know, the songwriter sitting there who's very meticulous about how he wants that song to sound, and certainly how he wants the notes to be heard and the words to be sung. And so in the past, you know, and in the past, to be quite honest, you know, I've sort of allowed that process to just kind of be as it was. But I think in the last couple of records, and certainly this one, like I said, I felt much more confident about what I'm bringing to the sound, and it's allowed me the freedom to really just sort of express myself within a band. And you know, it's always a compromise. That's what part of being in a band is. But quite often, what happens in that compromise is, you know, you're pleasantly surprised by other things that if you allow it to happen, don't try and sort of control things all the time and go into a certain direction, which, you know, we all do. But on this album, what I've noticed being quite different to others is that I felt like I've been, you know, Martin and I have kind of been joining a lot more, and somehow sort of, without even talking about it really, we seem to be going in the same direction with what we wanted to do with these songs.
It's been a very good vibe, you know, and we seem to be getting on very well together, you know, and I would sort of say the atmosphere's been, you know, really quite stable, you know, and just very creative, and it couldn't be better, to be honest.
I think that the atmosphere within the band has just been improving, you know, with time. Yeah, you know, we're quite famous for not getting on, you know, at various points in our history, and I think, yeah, that really has become a thing of the past. Yeah, we got on fairly well during the making of Playing the Angel, and the tour, I think, was a joy to be on, and, you know, everybody enjoyed it, and, you know, was pleased when it ended, but, you know, also left it with a little bit of regret. So, you know, I think we've just continued in that vein, and I think, you know, everyone's a lot less precious about everything now. You know, I think we can sit down and have a meeting and see other people's points of view and concede certain things, and, you know, it's, you know, I just think we you know, have a general respect for each other now that maybe wasn't as prevalent before.
The techniques that Martin and I use are quite different. Martin's much more traditional in the way that he'll sit down with a guitar and develop an idea, or sit at the piano and develop an idea and develop the notes and where he wants to go with them. He's a way more accomplished musician, I would say, than I am. But, you know, I write in a very different way to him. I like to, you know, at the moment I've been, you know, I continue to write with Christian and Andrew, Christian Eigner and Andrew Philpott, and that's been working, you know, since after Playing the Angel tour. We wrote, recorded and produced Hourglass together, and it was, for me, it was kind of continuation on from that. But once we get into the studio, you know, it becomes something different. And, you know, when I was demoing the songs that I contributed to this record, you know, I had in the back of my mind all the time, like, don't be too kind of meticulous about how I want things to be, because I want the input, whoever the production team may be, and Martin certainly in the studio to contribute ideas to those songs. And Martin was very, he contributed a lot to all the things that I've put that I have on this record.
Yeah, I don't think you can really tell when the songs are back to back that a song's mine or Dave's, because it does go through the whole Depeche process, and sort of Ben's production, and once Dave's sung the vocal, and then I put backing vocals on it and play guitar on it, and it ends up sounding like us.
We tend to treat each song differently. I think the idea is to try and create for that song the best possible atmosphere, the best possible treatment to suit that song, and most of the time we get that right, and sometimes we don't. Like I say, it's been quite interesting, this Martin's addiction, we should say, to vintage synthesizers and drum machines, because it has sort of been, it's made it quite creative in the studio, because when these things arrive, you have to work out how it's used, and from there something comes from it.
I think all of the songs on the album sound very different, but the fact that I've been buying so much stuff, old analog drum machines and synthesizers on eBay, has helped to shape the record in some ways. Packages were turning up daily, and we were using them as they arrived, and that obviously had an impact on the record.
Yeah, I mean there are differences between Martin's songwriting and Dave's songwriting, and regarding all songs are really treated in the same way when it comes to the actual recording, and Dave's been really improving over the last, especially from his last solo album. He's very confident now in the studio, and really in the end of the day, I think it would be quite hard to distinguish which was a Martin song and which was a Dave song.
The reason we chose Ben for this record was because we enjoyed making the last one so much, and we were really pleased with the end result last time. It just seemed really a stupid idea to me for us to be considering